MAFS UK Season 10 kicked off on, and we didn't even make it through the first episode before we got our first major disaster. Dean and Sarah's wedding was an absolute train wreck from start to finish, and honestly, it might be one of the most uncomfortable things we've ever seen on this show. Sarah made it crystal clear from the moment she laid eyes on Dean that she wasn't having any of it, while poor Dean was completely oblivious and kept trying to win her over with romantic gestures that just made everything worse. The whole thing was so painful to watch that viewers are already calling Sarah one of the cruelest brides in MAFS history. But let's break down exactly what went wrong and why this couple is already doomed before they even made it to their honeymoon.
Dean's not my typical type.
The drama started the second Dean walked down the aisle. This guy was so excited and nervous, waving to Sarah's bridesmaids like he was meeting his new family. But instead of getting warm smiles back, he got the coldest reception you've ever seen. The bridesmaids literally looked away and ignored him completely. You could see the confusion on Dean's face, but he kept trying to be friendly and positive. Sarah's friend Caitlin didn't even try to hide her feelings, telling the cameras that looks are very important to Sarah, and Dean is definitely not her type. She basically called him ugly on national television before the ceremony even started. When Sarah finally walked down the aisle and saw Dean waiting for her, her face said everything. She looked like someone had just told her the worst news of her life. While Dean was gushing to the cameras about how this was the woman for him and paying her compliments, Sarah was telling producers the complete opposite. She flat out said she didn't fancy Dean and apologised for it, which is probably the most brutal thing you can say about someone you're supposed to marry.
I need to stop focusing on the tattoos, I know.
But then Dean decided to do something that made everything 10 times worse. This man thought it would be romantic to perform a rap at the altar during their wedding ceremony. A rap at a wedding, in front of Sarah's family and friends who already didn't like him.
Plain to see, end of time, hopefully. Everybody, sing with me.
The second-hand embarrassment was real because you could see everyone cringing, especially Sarah. She later admitted that the rap put her right off and that she wasn't expecting anything like that.
I was not expecting that.
Dean thought he was being sweet and romantic, but Sarah saw it as over the top and overwhelming. The poor guy had no idea that his grand romantic gesture was actually the nail in the coffin for any chance they might have had. Sarah's family looked like they wanted to disappear into the ground, and you could tell they were all thinking the same thing. What kind of person raps at their own wedding? Dean was just trying to show his personality and sweep Sarah off her feet, but instead he swept her right into the friend zone before they even said their vows. If you thought the ceremony was bad, the reception was somehow even more painful to watch. Sarah completely avoided their first kiss and told Dean he could only peck her on the cheek. Imagine being so unattracted to someone that you can't even fake a proper wedding kiss for the cameras. Dean was still completely clueless about how Sarah really felt, telling everyone how much better the day went than he could have hoped. Meanwhile, Sarah was struggling to find any common ground with her new husband. When Dean mentioned that he doesn't go to the gym or have tattoos, you could see Sarah's heart sink even further. She had already told everyone that her usual type is a walking, talking red flag who looks like they just got out of jail. Dean is literally the opposite of that. He's a nice guy who admits he's a mummy's boy and has never been in trouble in his life. The experts clearly thought this would be good for Sarah since she always picks the wrong guys. But Sarah wasn't ready to change her type that dramatically. Just when you thought Dean couldn't make things worse, he decided to perform another song at the reception. This time, it was a romantic love song, just hours after the rap disaster at the altar. Sarah was speechless, and not in a good way. She called it weird and awkward, admitting that she's not a romantic person at all, and anything over the top puts her off. Dean kept trying to explain that he's done things like write love poems for girlfriends before, which made Sarah tell him please don't write her a poem. You could see her getting more and more uncomfortable with every romantic gesture Dean made. She told the cameras that she was sensing more of a friend vibe than a romantic one, and that she hadn't come on the show to make friends. The whole situation was made worse by the fact that Dean seemed genuinely sweet and was trying his best to connect with Sarah, but everything he did just pushed her further away. While Dean was telling everyone how happy he was, Sarah was being brutally honest with the cameras about her real feelings. She admitted that Dean was a lovely guy, but she didn't want to rip his clothes off, which is probably not what any groom wants to hear about their wedding day. She kept saying she was worried because all she could think about was how much she didn't fancy him. Sarah also made it clear to her bridesmaids that she didn't get what she ordered, basically treating Dean like a meal that came out wrong at a restaurant. The worst part was watching Dean continue to be excited and romantic, while Sarah was internally checking out of the marriage before it even started. She told him straight up that her usual type is bad boys and criminals, while he's admitting he's the complete opposite of that. It was like watching two people speak completely different languages. If the wedding day wasn't bad enough, the preview for the next episode showed things getting worse on their honeymoon. During dinner, Dean asked Sarah if she'd ever been with anyone bigger than him. Sarah's response was brutal. She said no while shaking her head repeatedly, making it clear his weight was an issue. Dean admitted this left him feeling empty. This is where viewers turned against Sarah because it felt like fat-shaming on national television. The fact that she couldn't try to be kind showed how little she cared about his feelings. Sarah also complained that Dean's singing and rapping was grating on her. The experts clearly thought they were being clever by matching Sarah with someone different from her usual type, but they created a disaster instead. Sarah is only attracted to bad boys with tattoos, while Dean is a sweet, romantic guy. These are fundamental incompatibilities that make a romantic relationship impossible. Sarah can't fake physical attraction, and Dean can't change his personality. The fact that she was complaining about his weight and romantic gestures on day one shows this marriage has no chance. Dean deserves someone who appreciates his romantic nature, while Sarah needs to figure out why she's only drawn to toxic relationships. Viewers have been brutal in their criticism of Sarah, calling her one of the cruelest brides in MAFS history. People are angry about the fat-shaming incident and how she treated Dean's romantic gestures. Comments say Dean deserves better and that Sarah's attitude is terrible. Many fans pointed out that Sarah signed up because she's tired of picking wrong guys, but then rejected Dean for being the right kind of guy. The consensus is that Sarah went on the show for wrong reasons completely.